Amanda here from Create Your Future. Today I'm joined by Amanda T. How are you?
I'm great. Hi, everybody. Hi, Amanda.
And Jerry's here today because we have an exciting video on how to get rid of the third party and a success story to share with you. So just before we dive into it, guys, Amanda is a law of attraction, law of assumption coach, and she is going to help you find your blocks, give you the tools to get over them and an action plan. And she's having a sale right now on her coaching. Her clients are getting a lot of great success. And guys, if I haven't already mentioned it, we do have a free course, how to identify your blocks to manifest anything fast. It's going to help you to speed up your manifestation. I know I didn't think questioning was a block, but I mean, I'm not talking about questioning like what sats or mental diet or why is the sky blue, but I'm talking about if you're manifesting Jerry, questioning why he's not calling you, questioning why he doesn't want a relationship, questioning, you've got to be clear on your story with him, and there can't be any question around that, so yeah, things like that actually, very important, to recognize because we create with our thoughts. So mental diet is absolutely everything. So yes, let's dive into it. I'm excited to hear your success story.
Thank you. Okay, everybody. So you might remember a couple months ago, I made this video, Breakup to Makeup. Go check it out. But here is kind of a part 2 on 3P and how I got rid of that. So it's actually kind of a funny story, at least I think it is. So my SP and I had an event we were going to go to. It was about a week out. And what's interesting, it was a great intro of Amanda to say, you're questioning thoughts and stuff like that. So here's this event. I've been really waiting for it. I'm so excited. What if it doesn't work out? It starts gnawing at me just a little bit. What about this? What about that? I'm trying so hard with my mental, not actually trying hard, but my mental diet was on point, right? Like I'm doing good. Our relationship's doing good. And I keep getting these fears, these visualizations of him like, and I don't know why. It was just a fear that came up, and that's okay, you guys, of him going out and like partying and like going home with some girl. And that was my fear. And it was there for about a week. And you guys, the day of the event comes and I don't hear anything from SP. And I'm texting and he's not reaching out and stuff. And I'm like, oy vey, here we go. So obviously we've already gotten through that, but here's a little bit more of the details. So it turns out that he had, just like I had envisioned, actually gone home with the 3P that night. And here's the thing, when that event happened, instead of actually being upset, okay, SP didn't text me, I kind of feel I know what I created because it's what I was thinking about. It's what my fears were. So I have a general idea of what happened. I decided to build a story around that. So the first thing I did is say, well, obviously I don't want them actually to be together. So she rejected him so stone cold. She was like, no, I don't find you attractive. I don't want to be like that. We're just friends. I mean, I wanted him to feel a little embarrassed and ashamed. I'm not going to say he wasn't going to try that again, right? She absolutely turned away from him, just brought him home. So that was actually the point where I was like, yeah, that's a great story. Let's roll with that. And then again, if you watch that video, I went into like the apology and the makeup and stuff like that. But you guys, the idea that 3P could be there because there was an event just happened. I understand lingering fears, but for me, it was so juicy and fun to hear that he had been rejected by 3P, that obviously no one compares to me. He was sorry that he had sabotaged the relationship and all he wants is to be in a relationship with me. And you guys, I need to do some posts on this. All the texts I have, him telling me, I want to be in a relationship with you. I want to be in a relationship with you. I'm not talking to anybody else. Absolutely. You don't have to fear it. You guys can recreate it. Absolutely.
I love that, and it's so true. I remember I almost created a third party myself, and I've told this story. So I was dating Andrew, and, one night he said that he wasn't going to come over. And of course I got into my own head and I was like, I remember him saying that the person that he was like dating was on and off again. And he explained this on our first date, how his daughter was unhappy, that he deserved someone better. But obviously they kept going back and forth, like on and again, off again. And of course, when he, said he wasn't coming over one night and said he was working, I'm like, yeah, right. He's probably gotten back together with her. Right. Anyway, so then it turns out the next day we did go out, and I remember we were eating our appetizer and he says, so I got to tell you something. Of course, whenever someone says that, it's like, oh my God, what? Right. And he was like, oh, my ex called me. And I was like, oh, and then I thought to I'm like, he didn't answer. And I'm saying that in my head. Right. And all of a sudden he's like, but I didn't answer it. And I was like, oh, okay. And so, it's like, you gotta be on your mental diet, like, and you gotta be like on the court. I remember, and we were just talking about this a little bit earlier, was like, I used to like obviously troll his Facebook, like who doesn't stalk his face? So of course he's a lawyer and he does networking. And okay, there wasn't even pictures of him with these girls. They were just in his friends list. And I was like, oh, she's hot. He's probably interested in her. Like I was making up all these stories and I was like, no, Amanda, stop. So then what I would do is I would go on his Facebook and I saw pictures of him at like the horse races and all these networking events. And I started saying, I'm going to be there with him. I'm going to be in the pictures with him. And you know what? We totally went to the horse races and a networking event with the golf and all of those things that I was using happened. I used it as a catalog rather than, using it, well, as the catalog, the opposite, to create a third party, right?
Exactly. Absolutely. And you're right with mental diet. And then being on the court itself, when you said, he's going to say he didn't answer it. It's something I actually brought up for my clients recently. I'm like, you're never done. Just because you've done your scripting for that day, you could be sitting across from someone and everyone is you pushed out. You can change it right then. You can, he maybe didn't answer that night, but you could have also just gone back in time. And then that moment he's like, I didn't answer it. And you got what you wanted. Right. So never stop.
Exactly. It was funny. So everyone is you pushed out, and I was looking, and I encourage anyone to try this. So somebody was telling me a story, and as they were telling me a story, questions were coming up in my head. And the funny thing is they would answer my questions basically the next pause in their story. And it kept going like this. And I did not ask one of my questions out loud. I didn't try to interrupt. I just asked that I was listening. And then they just kept answering my questions because it flowed with the story. But of course it was natural, and it was like, oh my God. I was like, I like everyone's you pushed out. Like I've asked all these questions in my head, like minutes later, they've answered them. And it was like, oh my goodness, yeah, you got to watch. Now, I know some people have said, that don't even think about the third party, but you know what? It's okay. Like there is no right or wrong. Okay. If you think about the third party with your SP, then you need to break that habit and you need to form a new one. So you're just, it's okay to say, okay, you know what? The third party is going to reject them. The third party has moved on. The third party's found somebody else. Create something nice for them, because whatever you manifest for others, you potentially manifest for yourself because you're focusing on it. Okay. Write them out of the story and then focus on you and your SP being together. Right. So, or if you can, it's okay to just not even think about the third party, but I'm not sure anybody can do that.
Right. Absolutely. It's just important not to give them more power than you have. Don't say that their hold is so strong and that, they have these bonds with SP. Maybe they share children. Maybe they shared a house. Well, you know what? Those bonds, baby, we can break them. There's nothing stronger than manifestation. And, after that situation with my SP, there have been times, you guys, just little moments of fragments where it's like, well, I haven't really heard from him. Maybe it's this. Well, no, he's working on getting this new job and he's out with friends and he really misses me right now. I'm going to create a story that works out for me. I'm not going to keep on feeding other beliefs and things. Yeah. That feeds it, it feeds it. So which one are you giving strength to? Are you giving your SP love for you and your relationship? Or are you saying, wow, SP really has a hold on this person?
Exactly. And one thing that, I shifted into
has a hold on this person. Sorry.
Yeah. Right. So one thing I shifted into is like, okay, so let's say you've manifested that, your, SP is a player. Okay. And that's why there's a third party there. Right. So I started looking at it like, okay, it must not be nice for the third party, for your SP to like, hurt you like this. That must, so I look at it like, okay, I'm going to see the best in them, because if I don't, I'm hurting them as well. They don't want to be that person. They don't want to have this evil or bad trait and hurt people. So, it's like, no, they want to be with me. Of course, they're not a player. They respect me. They would never. So we need to see the good in people. Okay. If you decide if you don't want someone to disrespect you, don't make their behavior mean they're disrespecting you. If, they're chatting up, like, one day. Okay. So I was in a networking event with Andrew. Okay. And so this is why you should always see the best in people. Okay. So he was chatting with this girl, this lady, and we were dating at the time, but they were like, okay, really close. Okay. And I was like, oh, that's my man. Okay. So I walk over there. Okay. And I assert my dominance by taking like, an hors d'oeuvre off of his plate and eating it. Kind of like, I'm his girl. Right. Anyway, so Andrew, and I thought they were like, flirting or whatever. That's why I did this. Well, all of a sudden, it turns out this chick was just a close talker, and she was really trying to sell her products. And so basically, Andrew took it as an opportunity to introduce her. He told me what she did, and then he politely left, and I was stuck in the corner with her. And I was like, oh my God, I don't want to be in this conversation, right? So, like... situations may not always be the way they appear to be, right? So like, you got to see the best. If I saw the best in Andrew and was like, no, if he's a networking event, he wants to be with me, I would have never got stuck in that corner for that really long 15-minute conversation. I mean, sweet as pie, but like I really didn't need Amway or anything, right? So
well, absolutely. In fact, I'm so glad you said that, because I read a quote recently where it said something about like, we judge others based off their actions, but not their intentions, but we judge ourselves over our intentions and not our actions. We're not perfect either, you guys. We're going to do little things like take food off someone's plate, or maybe send them an angry text But the thing is that angry text meant they realized that how much I love them and that this really bothers me. And it really hurt their feelings when they hurt me. They feel guilt. They don't actually want to be that person. I made my story that he, the stakes were a little high. I have a kid. He doesn't think it was in my head that it was a big deal. So I also played that to my story. He just felt, I don't remember exactly the words right now, but he felt stressed. He felt pressured. It was really fast. He did sabotage it out of emotional intelligence, whatever we want to call it. I didn't think that hard on that part. My story was because he loves me, because he wants to be with me, because I mean that much to him. It really scared him. And you know what? He then spent the next 2 weeks thinking about me and then sent me a huge apology, and everything's been great ever since. I didn't just dig into the story and say, how could you hurt me? And all these terrible things. I said, wow. I mean, it sounds counterintuitive, but I really did. It's like his intentions are pure. This man has loved me for a while. He's wanted to be in a relationship. It was just an accident. It was a slip up that I created. I'm going to let this go, and we're happy.
And you still got your apology too. When you shift into an apologetic state, they're going to shift into an apologetic state, and so I always create that my partner's forgiving and understanding, and there's nothing that I can ever do wrong. And, I know when I see it, when me and Andrew, and we never get into arguments, and my relationship is great, but in the past when we have, I'm trying to create that, no, I'm just saying, I can't use him as an example. I don't want to mess anything up and have a bad night tonight.
Jerry.
Right? It's powerful. So whenever me and Jerry get into an argument, right, and I'm like digging my heels in, right, he's going to dig his heels in. And then when I turn around and I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean, to assume the worst or whatever. And then all of a sudden they shift into being apologetic as well. So, you'll see that everywhere, when you open up, be vulnerable, and, you shift into that, they shift into it, right? So you can manifest your apology. It's, not to say that, oh, you have to assume that they've done nothing wrong. It's okay that, you've manifested a third party and, then you want them to apologize. That's fine. You can have that. It's your reality. You can have whatever you want, right? NLP teaches you, there's this like lady, and she's like basically this old lady, and this young guy is tackling her, and it looks like he's trying to mug her, right? But then on the next page, they open up the picture and you see more. There's actually bricks falling from scaffolding above her, and this guy's actually saving her. And what they're teaching us there in NLP is when you can look at it in different perspectives. So what actions may not be what you think they are, because whatever you're focused on, if you're focused on a third party, you're focused on this guy being a player or this girl being a player or this teddy bear being a player, you're going to make basically your brain's going to filter that everything, that every time they touch someone's shoulder or they talk to somebody or they smile or they say hi to an elevator, that's it, because that's the lens you're looking through. So you start shifting that story, right? You just realize they're a nice person and they talk to everybody, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And definitely change just that slight shift in perspective, looking at a bigger picture, not focusing on, we can hyper focus on the nitty gritty, you guys. But it really, for me, was just that simple. Like, I don't have a lot of 3P issues, but yet for some reason, my brain said, oh, wouldn't that be scary? And I thought, sure would. And that's what happened. And I thought, okay, well, how do I want this? You guys, I didn't actually need that apology. That is what I decided would be my icebreaker for my story. It's actually a very thought out kind of chess game, right? I didn't actually need an apology for us to continue. I had already forgiven him because I created it. I had already decided that it was done and that we were going to move on. I just wanted that apology text so I could be like, hey, can we talk about this now? I was ready to go to step 2.
You and me are much different because I always need an apology. Even if they didn't do anything wrong, I need an apology for me assuming they've done something wrong. Okay, that's it. Okay, it just makes me feel better. Okay, just apologize for breathing and being in my line of sight and for my bad assumptions.
You know what? If that's what you want, if that's what people want, maybe I should get more apologies, apparently.
Dude, I'm an expert at manifesting apologies. Like, seriously, an expert. Done 2 videos on them, actually, and they're really good. Like, I remember one of the videos, and you guys could just Google on the channel, a bunch of comments, like, it worked, and it does work, right? So anyway, thank you so much. I intend that this information has helped everybody. Thank you so much for sharing a video with me, Amanda. That's amazing.
Thank you, Amanda, so much.
You're welcome. And guys, thanks for having us on your manifesting journey. We do this every day because we want you to be successful. So yeah, and so does Jerry. So thank you for liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
Bye.